Whether it's around the country or your town or county, decisions are being made every day that impact real people and real communities. Welcome to the Rural View, where we open the window for you to view Wisconsin farmers and rural residents and get a glimpse into the challenges they face. And we welcome you to the Rural View, and today we're going to be talking with Eric Wuthrich, Greene County Farm Bureau President and active farmer. And Eric, first off, welcome to our podcast. Tell us a bit about your farm, about your operation.
Yeah, so my wife and I moved to the farm here last November. We've been farming the ground. It's about 70 acres, cash crop rotation, corn, soybean operation. We're looking to expand in the future. We actually brought chickens into the operation here this spring, and a small flock of 15 birds. And so getting as many eggs as we can eat and hopefully selling a few on the side definitely helps with some feed costs.
Do you see any other changes down the road, the things that you're looking at?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're really looking into is getting some cattle to diversify the farm a little bit. Like to have a small beef herd, farm to table beef herd, so we'd be selling local beef, use some of the corn that we produce on our farm as feed for the cattle, and sell our beef as well.
Any particular type of beef you're looking at?
Not at this time. I'm kind of a sale barn special maybe, so we'll see what happens in the future. Grandpa was a dairy farmer here until 2000, and so after they sold the cows in 2000, they tore all the fences out and said, we're done with cattle. And unfortunately, their grandson now is on the farm 25 years later and kind of wanting to put fence back up.
So how many cows were there when you grandpa
They were milking about 185 cows at the time.
So a good size operation at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think at one point, Grandpa was planting about 1,500 to 2,000 acres a year.
Now, you also have do some work outside the farm. Tell us a bit about that.
So my day job, I'm a district sales manager for LG Seeds. So I get to work with farmers all day, every day, and I absolutely love it. If I can't be on my own farm working, the best thing for me is to be out with my growers and helping them succeed in the seed purchases that they do with me.
How long have you been with LG?
I actually originally started with AgriGold in 2020 when I graduated college from UW River Falls. And in the last year and a half, I transitioned to the LG Seeds brand. So it's the same parent company, just a little bit different color bag. And it's been awesome. I've enjoyed my 5-year career here.
There's been quite an evolution in the seed business, hasn't there?
Yeah, it seems like every day is something new and every year comes with new challenges. But definitely with our new parent company, GDM, purchasing AgReliant Genetics, we're going to see some great changes in the future. I think, the research side of things is really going to explode here. And I know I'm really excited to see some new products come in, potentially some short corn come in, new traits on some soybeans. So it's going to be a really exciting future for farmers.
One of the things that's amazed me in my lifetime is how the genetics of seeds have changed and improved over the years. Cold tolerance, standability in corn. We didn't have soybeans. I'm in central Wisconsin. We didn't have soybeans up around here until probably 30 years ago. I mean, the genetics have just been dramatically improved.
When I was talking with Grandpa and he started his career, they didn't have Roundup Ready corn. And to me, that's just crazy to think about because not everything, but a good majority of what I sell is Roundup Ready or Liberty Tolerant or whatever it may be. And we have these traits now that are fighting off the rootworms and fighting off the other insects that we have that could absolutely destroy a crop. So, the technology that they've brought into these plants through GMOs has been outstanding to see the improvements that we've had in the yields and everything else in the last few years.
What kind of yields are you running down in your part of the state?
I had soybeans this year, and I was very fortunate. We had 73.5 bushel soybeans on our farm. That's not something that we're going to see every year, but we had the right rains. Corn ground around here is average about 200 to 225 bushel the acre. If you get a little bit further west in really good grounds where I work with a lot of customers, they're looking at that 225 to 275 range on normal years.
Do you see anything, you talk about Roundup Ready and about Liberty and so on. There's some plants or weeds that are immune to that technology. Do you see that increasing as an increasing challenge?
It is. And I know there's some new herbicides in the works right now. I'm just on the seed side right now. I have zero interest in the chemical world, but from what I understand, the new modes of actions for these weeds that are getting resistant to this, water hemp has been a big thorn in a lot of people's sides. And so we have to really diversify what we're spraying on these crops to try and mitigate that weed pressures.
How active do you use GPS in your farming operation?
When it works, all the time. But it seems like sometimes the clouds may come over or whatever, and we can't get a GPS signal. But we do not actually have auto steer on our farm, so I still rely on markers. And we do have a mapping system in our tractor for planting. It kind of shows us where we've planted, and it shuts the rows off when we have overlap. But like I said, when it works, it's great. But other times you still have to go back to old school and rely on those markers.
And you're still reliant upon the weather, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a bit about Farm Bureau. How'd you get involved?
Actually, my grandparents got me involved. So, graduated college in 2020, like I said earlier, and moved down to southern Wisconsin to take over a territory down here. And grandma basically told me, hey, annual meeting for the county is coming up. We signed you up as a member, and we'd love for you to come with us. So, I attended there. And then Ben Huber is our neighbor, and he got me involved and basically said, hey, we have a position open as our Facebook manager, essentially, our communications manager. So I took on that role for the year and then joined the board after that. And my Farm Bureau experience has kind of exploded after that, it seems like. And I've really enjoyed kind of growing with our county and the state and actually getting involved now on the national side as well.
Once you're in, right? Like, that's a common theme that we find around these places.
That's what I've heard.
What do you feel is the best asset you bring to the organization?
Being a voice. I really enjoy getting to know the growers in the area, the farmers and ranchers in Greene County, and not just Greene County, all over my sales territory, and understanding what challenges they face and how we can talk to our legislators and bring forward some policies towards those legislators and say, hey, here's where we're struggling as farmers and ranchers. How can you help us?
So coming from, you said you grew up in the Amherst area, coming into southern Wisconsin, did you find, okay, there's a different way of farming down here? You're in very rich soil. You're in probably one of the most productive counties in the state. Were there differences between the Central Sands and what you deal with?
I always laugh. I said growing up, I could watch my dog run away for about 5 days on as flat a ground as it's up there. Moving down to from central Wisconsin to southern Wisconsin, I can only watch my dog run away for about 20 minutes. So it's definitely has its challenges. Growing up in potato country, there's a lot of fertilizer used, a lot of irrigation, and we just don't have that down here. There's the hills and other challenges with the rocky grounds or the better grounds. It kind of just depends on where you're at. But yeah, it's definitely a different ball game down here.
Is there a particular reason why your dog keeps running away?
Yeah.
She always comes back.
Just an outgoing dog, that's all.
That's right.
I think that's a good point, though. You talk about just the diversity of Wisconsin's landscape, and you've been able to see quite a few pockets of that in your role, as a farmer or your day job, whatever that looks like. All those different landscapes kind of piece together what Wisconsin is, but how does that technology and all the different types of farms that you deal with, like, what does that look like?
Well, in central Wisconsin, I see a lot of flat, square fields. GPS, you can literally follow the rows as straight as they can be. And down here, we have a lot of point rows. So when I'm planting a field and it's not exactly a square, having that technology on the corn planter to shut the rows off individually has saved a ton of money on the farm. Actually, back in college, I did a research project on it, and the row shutoffs and the downforce on the corn planters are one of your biggest returns on investment. And being a seed guy, of course, I want to sell seed, but I would much rather see the seed placed properly and sell, less bags for a farm per year. They can have better yields. The plants are going to have a better opportunity to produce the way that they're supposed to. So adding that technology in definitely pays for itself.
You bring up an interesting point there that, the change in technology and how you plant and what the planters can do and so on. That is an ever-increasing factor in crop growth, isn't it?
It is. As precise as we can get it, we're actually on 20-inch rows here on our farm specifically. But you look at the different operations that I work with. I've seen 15-inch corn. I've seen 20-inch corn, 30, 38-inch. And every operation has to do it differently, right? So they have to make sure that they're doing it the way that is profitable for them. For us, if I can make sure that my plants are spaced out properly, I'm taking advantage of all that fertilizer. I'm closing the canopy as best as I can so we can have less weed pressure. And really just looking at bumping yield in that way too.
What kind of populations are you looking at in corn?
Depends on the hybrid. So I like to do farm by farm, hybrid by hybrid, but most of our corn ground is approximately 33.5 to 35,000 plants per acre.
And mostly 30-inch rows then?
A lot of my customers are 30-inch rows.
What about soybeans? What kind of population there?
Soybeans, right now I'm planting at 125,000, which I know when I talked to Grandpa when they drilled them in, they used to be 210,000. And you look at a $90 bag of soybeans or whatever it may be, and you can save that much money on just the seed alone. That's a big cost savings. I did a population trial here 2 years ago, dropped it all the way down to 70,000, all the way up to 140,000. And there really wasn't much difference. So it might have been just the year we had was a good year, but I am telling my customers to drop the populations on soybeans. It's helping with white mold pressure, other disease pressures, and quite honestly, your seed cost savings is going to outweigh a lot of that little bit of yield loss.
You keep referencing your grandpa, and I just think this is such a cool perspective because you work a lot with ag tech, and there's just so many new advances and so many things that we could embrace. But I think one of the unique parts about Farm Bureau specifically is we have members of all ages, right? And so we get to interact with people of all ages, and you just seem to really have an appreciation of learning from past generations, but really taking what you learn to advance us and innovate, and you have an appreciation for that. So just talk about that a little bit about your relationship with your grandpa and maybe how you can lean into that more, especially in the Farm Bureau space of learning from all these different generations.
Yeah, I always kind of say I feel like I was born into the wrong generation. I'm a little bit more of an old school guy myself, but it is kind of nice to understand where we came from, right? And where we want to go. So the generation before us has succeeded. They're still farming. A lot of them are still farming themselves even if they're 70, 80 years old. And there's a lot to learn from them. They've gone through a lot of struggles. They went through the 80s, they made it. They went through the droughts, they went through the wet years, and they've persisted. So that's one thing that I really want to tell people is to make sure that you are talking with that older generation and learning from them. Yes, the younger generation, we don't have the experience. We might have went to college and understood out of a book, but the people that you talk to in your day-to-day are really going to be great resources. They're going to have practical knowledge. Everything that works in a book might not work on the farm, and I've found that out. I've learned a lot in my 5-year short career, but majority of my customers are 50 years old and older. So just kind of understanding where they came from, how they do things, and why. The biggest question is why. So I encourage, if you are speaking with the older generation or even your parents or your grandparents, to ask the questions why.
I think as young farmers, there is a lot to learn. I also think we're facing younger generations different challenges than we've ever had and more challenges. So as a young farmer yourself, what are some of those challenges and how are you either leveraging Farm Bureau resources or other resource sources to make sure that you stay successful?
A competition for land has been huge. We have some solar panels coming into the area, and rent prices have been going up every year, it seems like. So different things that we can do, we talk with these landlords and tell them, hey, we are a young generation. We want to get into farming. This is what feeds the world. Just kind of having that conversation early and saying, hey, this is my plans. I would love to have you involved with that. So as a young farmer, just being respectful of the older generation, it's a tough decision when they say, hey, it's time for me to retire. We went through it with my grandparents. It's definitely not an easy conversation to have, but just having those conversations and telling them your plans definitely has helped me.
Which brings up the big challenge for your generation is we're going to see a drastic transfer of land ownership in the next 10 years. How does your generation approach that as opposed to what your grandparents or what your parents dealt with?
I guess the biggest thing with the land transfer is just being transparent, right? Making sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody's happy with the way that things are going. A lot of times right now, as a young farmer, you have to save as much money as you can to buy that next farm or rent that next ground. And that's tough. I just talked with my boss today, and the average age of somebody purchasing a house right now is 40 years old. It's hard to come up with that down payment, right? So just staying focused on exactly what you want to do and writing your goals down, saying, hey, my goal is to farm 750 acres in the next 10 years. How am I going to achieve that goal? But if you start with the big picture and really start to understand what steps you need to make to get to that big picture is what I'm going to have to be doing on the farm here.
What are some of the things that Farm Bureau has helped you in working with those generations and making the transition?
A lot of connections through Farm Bureau. So just getting to annual meeting, our county annual meeting, getting to know some of our members has been huge. These people in the area, we're never getting younger. Nobody ever is getting younger. So just getting to create a relationship with them and understand their farming operation and how you can work with them or understand how to grow your operation based off of things that they have taught you. Farm Bureau also has some great resources like Farm Neighbors Care. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about mental health in farmers. Talking with your neighbors or people just down the road and making sure that they're okay. That is one of the biggest things that I like to focus on as well.
I was gonna say one of the challenges is mental health, and I think I know, Eric, through your involvement in Farm Bureau, you've been willing to be outspoken about this topic, which a lot of farmers are not, and we definitely appreciate that. But can you talk a little bit more about that, of why it's such a passion point for you, and again, some of those Farm Bureau resources that you've been leveraging or participating in?
Yeah, so I mentioned Farm Neighbors Care, and actually we're working on something right now with a project that started back in college. So I can't take credit for this. I was part of a leadership group in the ag business department at River Falls. And basically what we did is we made wristbands. And actually I have them. I wear them every day. All it says is farming is tough, but so are you. #Farmer Strong. So the idea came where we were going to sell these wristbands to students, professors, people in the community, and donate back those proceeds to a mental health organization specifically geared towards farmers in Wisconsin. So we sold probably about 100 wristbands that week and donated those profits back. But it kind of went by the wayside after I graduated. And a couple of years ago, I actually just out of the blue ordered some wristbands back, and I gave them out with every seed order that I sold that year. I gave them to my farmers with a thank you note, and that was pretty well received. I actually have farmers that 3 years down the road are still wearing those wristbands, and some have actually called me and said, "Hey, I've worn mine completely out. I can't read the writing on it anymore. Can you get me another one?" To me, all that is saying is, hey, I am somebody that they can reach out to, they can talk to. I'm here for them. Realistically, mental health has been tough in the last couple of years. Prices have been down. We have to check on each other because if you don't take care of your mental health, you can't farm, right? So I always say a healthy mind is like a healthy body. So you have to keep up on that. And I've said it before, the cows can't milk themselves.
Last week was the National FFA Convention, and the winning prepared speaker this year from Wisconsin, which I believe is the first time Wisconsin has won this contest. And she spoke on farmer mental health. And she spoke about a suicide, a farmer suicide, that she knew of the individual, a personal story. But how do we, as the neighbors, how do we, as the people who interact with those people, or can see, hey, there's a problem here. Hey, this person is despondent. What are the telltale signs that we're not paying attention to?
Every situation is different. And I was fortunate enough when I went through the Leadership Institute through Farm Bureau that we did COMET training. That's one thing that I am recommending that people in the ag industry or farmers themselves do. It really kind of opened my eyes to showing, okay, here's some signs. Maybe they're making some comments like, I'm not doing well. And they may not come out and say, I'm not doing well, but you can hear in their voice, you can see in their body language that they're struggling. So just being there, being an ear for them. Farmers are on the farm a lot by themselves and they might feel alone. So honestly, just stopping by with a box of donuts or a cup of coffee or saying, hey, you want to go out for lunch, or hey, can I come and help you? Whatever it may be, sitting in that combine all day long by yourself and maybe hearing the radio chatter, that's it. Socialization is huge.
One of the things, I spent some time in a previous life as an ag lending agent, and we were trained to watch what's happening on the farm. Were they not taking care of things? Were the animals being neglected? Sure signs of depression.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we see that all over. If somebody has a absolutely beautiful farm where their lawn is manicured and the weeds are all dead and the cows and everything look just perfect, and you start to see that go downhill, that is a telltale sign. I agree with that.
Talk a bit about some of the other things that you see as the big challenges to your generation. You mentioned, for instance, my parents went through the Depression. I remember the farm crisis. I remember it well. Now you're looking at land prices, at prices in general, and so on. What do you see as the biggest challenges to your generation coming in to the farm?
My generation has cell phones. I'll be honest, cell phones are a great tool, but they are also very harmful. We have all of the resources that we may need at the tip of our fingers, and we don't really have to dig too hard to get it. So not truly understanding how to get information sometimes might be a challenge for us. We have so much information that sometimes we don't know what to believe. There's so many opinions out there, and when you watch the news or you look them on Facebook or whatever it may be, you might not be able to believe everything, right? So that's one thing that I would say as a young farmer, having too much information may not be good.
Do you think there's a lapse there, or is the credibility of the information being offered to you more suspect?
It can be. Yeah, there's so many different internet trolls, as they call them, where they just post something to get a rise out of people. And maybe sometimes you'll believe it because it seems believable, but it really isn't a true fact.
How do you decipher what to believe and what not?
Fact checking. You go back to some resources that are credible, whether it be, again, a farmer or a rancher or even books from college. I kind of go back and take a look at those.
Do you call back to your college professors on occasion?
Once in a while, yeah. I actually run into one of them at annual meetings. Looking forward to meeting up with her again and just catching up.
When you went through college, and now let's look at high school juniors who are looking at their future. Are the opportunities there in agriculture? What's the path of study or the career path that they should choose would be best served right now?
There is a ton of opportunities in agriculture, whether they want to be a nutritionist, an agronomist, ag lender, a grain merchandiser. There is always opportunities in agriculture. And quite honestly, you don't have to go to college either, right? I mean, there's so many opportunities through tech school. I know we have Blackhawk Tech here in Monroe, where I live. There's tech schools all throughout the state. But going through college, finding what you're really passionate about. I say I love my job, and I truly do. I wake up in the morning and I'm excited to go to work. That's something that I've been very fortunate. I haven't had to jump around careers to find out what I like. But going into college, make sure that you are doing internships as well. I took 3 different internships and they were very different. Found out on my first internship that for me, sitting in an office all day was not the line of work that I wanted to do. Quite honestly, I was the kind of person that could sit in front of a computer. I got bored and distracted. So finding out that, I shifted my focus towards more of the agronomy side of things, where I'm out in the fields. I'm out with customers, and that's truly where I want to be. That's where my heart is.
How do we attract more people into the ag room, into the ag classroom? But also, I'm thinking as an ag lender, I mean, there's a shortage of ag lenders out there. There's a shortage of accountants, and there's a number of areas. I know there's a shortage of salespeople. How do you entice, especially that non-knowing? People who went through agriculture classes know the availabilities, but there's a lot of people that don't. How do we get those in?
Just showing that it's helping people, right? So a lot of people just want to help others. And in the ag industry, we're feeding the world. And by helping your farmers grow, you are feeding the world indirectly. I guess the ag industry historically has had longer hours, a little bit tougher jobs, and it seems that there has been a shift. We're seeing more manageable hours, a lot more weekends off, and so I think that's definitely something that we need to market people better on when they are looking at getting in the ag industry.
I think of dairy farms. I grew up with the dairy industry. My brothers are dairy farmers. And I mean, the size of those dairy operations have grown significantly. But because of that, they have regular hours or more regular hours, and they have some time off. I can go watch my kids play football or volleyball or whatever the case may be. Do you think that's helping bring people into the fields?
I do. Yeah. And with the technology that we have, we're sitting in these corn planters and the GPS is running the tractor. It's taking a lot less fatigue on the farmer. It's a little bit easier for somebody to come in and plant for you. These robotic dairy farms, they're able to not have to sit there and milk cows or bend over and grab the milking system off the udders every time. That's taking a lot less pressure off of your shoulders. There's a lot less fatigue, like I said, and I really think it's attracting more people into it.
So do a little crystal ball gazing here. Where do you see the future in agronomy, the future in production agriculture?
I have 2 visions. So I'm seeing farms getting bigger on one side of things, technology getting better. So bigger equipment, bigger fields, less operators, just kind of more managers. Or I'm seeing it go the other way. So some smaller farms, smaller equipment, but more precise equipment. Having the more return per acre, I think, and being more accurate with how we're planting, fertilizing, spraying, everything else, I think on a smaller scale, we could see it work.
Which do you think you prefer?
I would prefer the smaller farms, honestly.
We certainly don't know what the future holds by any stretch. But how do we get that message across to the consuming public that, hey, what you're doing out here on the farm maybe is not something they agree with, but they don't really understand it? How do we tell the story?
One thing that I've seen is the dairy breakfasts in Wisconsin has been a huge factor. I see so many people that come from the city and they might be walking around with their kids and saying, oh, look at the cow or whatever. And it's a great teaching opportunity. Inviting people out to their farms or, just saying, hey, come ride in the combine or the tractor cab with me to understand what we're doing and why. I keep going back to the why statement. A lot of the consumers that we see in the grocery store see organic or healthy and they think that that's the way that they need to go, but why is that the way that they need to go? And if we can educate, hey, GMOs are not bad. It's actually helping us create better crops, healthy crops, just as much for you as it is for the next guy. So on our farm, I know I eat GMO crops. A lot of people might not think that's the right thing to do, but I feel like it's safe and healthy.
Which brings up, GMOs were a big controversy. They still are. The technologies, genetically modified animals with the same thing, cloned cattle and so on. How do we sell the technology to the consuming public?
Population is growing, so we need to grow more food. I guess the way that I look at it is if we stay stagnant with how our yields are and we're not improving and using those genetically modified crops to improve our yields, we will not have the food security that we do right now.
What are your goals as far as with Farm Bureau?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. I better be careful what I say here. Get signed up for something that I'm not ready for. No, I would like to get involved more on the state level or the national level. So right now, being the county president, I've enjoyed it. This is my second term now, so I've got a year under my belt of learning. I'm still going to be learning every day, but moving on to the state level, I'm involved with the GO team, the WisGO team, and then the American Farm Bureau GO team as well. So learning a little bit more about the state and national levels, but I really do enjoy the legislator visits and talking in front of the legislators on bills. So I'm hoping to get more involved on that side of things.
Speaking of the legislature, of course, farm production agriculture is a diminished element in the political sphere. How do you get the voice across when you're speaking, really representing such a small part of the population?
I think voice and numbers, writing to legislators, getting as many people support as you can really make a big difference. I know I spoke on bill number 222, Sustainable Aviation Fuel bill, at the state capitol here, I guess it would be about a month ago. And there was some overwhelming support on that. I think that's a great thing. It might have been, just the committee hearings, but just to have that much support behind the bill, I think they really understand that is a big thing that we need to get past.
How important is it for you as a production agriculture person to have that relationship with your elected representatives?
It's huge. Having that relationship with legislators, they'll call you when there's something that comes across their desk. They might reach out and they truly don't understand maybe what we need on the farming side of things. And so if they're going to be able to call you and pick your brain on why do we need this? How is this going to benefit us in the city as well as you out in the rural communities? That's huge.
For sure. Are we in a good place? Do we want to wrap up with some rapid fire, or is there anything else that we need to cover yet, Bob?
I'm fine. How about you, Eric? Anything you'd like to touch on?
I think it's been fun.
All right. Well, I think we want to try to do some rapid fire questions to wrap up our podcast when we engage with some of our members. So I did give you a sneak peek of those, but I'm just going to run through them real fast, and we're not going to judge you either way of whatever you say.
Well, I will.
So that's fair. It's a little bit of that. All right. We're going to go with chocolate milk or white milk.
I don't drink a lot of milk. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't necessarily agree with me, but definitely chocolate milk when I get the opportunity.
All right. Red or green?
When it comes to tractors, we've had them all, but I'm definitely a red guy.
Okay. Planting season or harvest season?
I love planting season. That's the heart of my business. I actually get to run the planter on our farm now, and we don't have a combine, so I'm going to go with planting season.
All right. What is your favorite holiday?
Ooh, I'm going to probably have to say Halloween because it's right around the deer hunting time.
Okay. Spooky season. I wouldn't have actually pegged you for that. That's interesting.
Well, I guess Thanksgiving is deer hunting. So Thanksgiving.
All right. What about your favorite sports team?
Ooh, probably the Wisconsin Badgers. I enjoy college football.
All right, even this season?
If you're a true fan, you still like the Badgers.
All right, and the last one is, what is your favorite Farm Bureau event or initiative?
I love annual meeting. I get to see people that I don't see all the time, and I just catch up how the farming year went for them and what they're excited about for next year. And quite honestly, the meetings are great, but it's after the meetings that you really truly learn about everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and just sharing a little bit about what you do and your Farm Bureau involvement. Really enjoyed the conversation, and keep up all the good work, and good luck wrapping up harvest.
Yes, thank you very much. Good luck to you
Nice
guys as well.
Nice talking to you, Eric.
Nice talking with you.
Wisconsin Farm Bureau's Cultivate and Connect conference goes above and beyond other training opportunities. It's packed with fresh sessions tailored to real-life agriculture, from leadership stories, hands-on labs for promotion and engagement, to tours of real agriculture businesses. Register at WFBF.com.